All right, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm talking about João Paulo Ribeiro. He is a writer, a famous writer in Brazil, and he died last week. So I'm talking about his life, I'm talking about his health, what happened, so he died, and some of his prize. So I would like to start talking about his death. Like I said, he died last week, and Friday, July 18th, at his house at Leblon, that is a neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro. And the cause of his death is pulmonary embolism. That is a blockage from the main artery from the lungs. That is our organs that are responsible for our breath. And or some of the branches of this artery. And he was 73 years old. He was buried in the São João Batista Cemetery in the mausoleum of the Academy of Brazilian Arts. I'll talk later, what is it? And a vigil, it's when people come to see the body happen in the Academy. And my next point is the health. The writer, he used to smoke a lot. He was oriented by the doctors to stop smoking, but the only thing that he did was reduce the amount of cigarettes per day, but he didn't stop. And he has a lot of problems, respiratory problems. He was hospitalized in May. He spent 5 days in the hospital because of these problems. And one sad fact is that he had been written a new book 1 year and a half ago. He woke up every day early to write the book, and he died actually writing the book. He woke up on the down 3 a.m. and he is not feeling so bad, so he called his wife and said, I'm not feeling bad, I'm not feeling so good. And she called the emergency, so by the time the ambulance arrived, he was already dead. Moving on, I'll talk about the trajectory. That's the course of his life. And he was born in Taparica, in the state of Bahia, my state. And he was taken with his father to Sergipe when he was 11 years old. His dad was a politician and a teacher. In the course of his life, he also lived in Portugal and Germany. He was a law student in 1952-62 in the UFBA, that is one of the most important universities at Bahia, but he never went on to practice his profession. He also was graduated and has a master's degree in public business, also in UFBA. He was a teacher in UFBA. He teaches in the Business and Philosophy College. In the first years of he also was a professor, journalist, economist. In the first years of the university, he was one of the students sent to the International Writing Program, University of Iowa. There is one big thing. And then he started to develop his passion about writing. In 1993, he was part of the Brazilian Academy of Arts. There is a group of writers from Brazil. The most famous writers from Brazil are part of this group. Now I'm talking about some works that he did, the most important. When he was 21 years old, he wrote his first book. That is Setembro Não Tem Sentido, or September Has No Sense. It's a satirical humor book. He talked about the celebration of the September 7th, that is the independence of Brazil, happened this date. And the book passed in the 60 decades, when Brazil was in the dictatorship. So almost of his books were satirical and sarcastic. The next one is 1971's Sergeant Getúlio. There is a landmark of a modern Brazilian novels. When he wrote this book, then he became a famous writer in Brazil. And it's a difficult book to translate to English. He had to do this by himself because there is a lot of expression from Bahia, that's my state. There is no translator, so he had to do by himself. And this book talks about the culture and custom from the northeast of Brazil. And then the most famous book of this writer is Viva o Povo Brasileiro, Long Live to the Brazilian People. It's based in real facts of Brazilian history. It's critical, sarcastic. He talks about when the Portuguese royalty arrived in Brazil. But he talks this in a human way. And to finish, I'll talk to acknowledge of him. Because that means widely recognized. How he became a famous writer. One of the most important prizes for the Portuguese speakers writers is the Camões Prize. And in 2008, he received this prize. Other thing important in his life is that he occupied, like I said, the chair number 34 in the Brazilian Academy of Arts. This kind of the chairs, it's not a real chair, it's just be part of the group. And you
Be
can...
symbolic.
What?
Symbolic.
Yes. And to you occupy a chair, someone has to die to you. And only the most important writers in Brazil can occupy. He was a member of this group, but he died. And in conclusion, with the information I gave to you, you can see that Brazil lost a great writer, and we miss them. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.